You ever have one of those days where you step outside and suddenly you realize your whole life just got boxed in, literally? That was me staring at 8 feet of steel and chain link right across my only road in or out. I'm not kidding. 8-foot fence privacy slats and all standing there like a $15,000 middle finger pointed right at my ranch. On the other side, there's Brad Morrison, the HOA president, feet planted like he's waiting to be knighted, arms crossed, eyes already gloating. He doesn't even let me get a word out. Your easement's in dispute, Ms. Chen. This gate stays closed until you sell, or you can take the 40-mile mountain detour. And then he grins just enough to make me want to hurl my water bottle at his truck. The red dust, the steel catching the Arizona sun, it's like every cliche about power plays rolled into one. That was the moment I realized Brad may have built his fence, but he forgot about the little chess piece I still had tucked away. See, there's this emergency fire gate tucked back on my property controls, the only other way out for all 120 homes in his shiny new subdivision. My key. Not his. Not theirs. Mine. Every insurance policy, every home sale, every bit of that community safety he brags about, all depending on the lock in my pocket. So he thinks he locked me out. He just doesn't know who's actually holding the keys. Let me back up. Because none of this started with fences and fire gates and threats. And if you're still listening, maybe you're wondering how somebody ends up in a land war with their neighbor over cattle dirt and a strip of road. Well, welcome to my life. That day, I was coming back from town, quarter-mile from my gate, and there it is, brand new fence steel post, not a dent on it. Wasn't there 3 hours ago when I left to buy feed? But now it's there, slicing right through Red Mesa Road, which, by the way, is the only way in or out of my 85 acres. I pull up, get out, dust swirling, and I see 2 signs zip-tied at eye-level private property. No trespassing. Sunset Ridge HOA. Like they'd just claimed the land out from under me. That's when my blood pressure spiked. My name's Sarah Chen. I'm 38. I've run the Red Mesa Ranch since my Uncle Raymond died 5 years ago. 85 acres of high desert grass, 60 head of cattle, some modest money from beef sales, and every now and then a city slicker group paying to play cowboy for a weekend. Not glamorous, but it's home. Uncle Raymond, he bought this land back in 85, 145 acres then. Sold 60 to a developer in 87 to keep the bank off his back, but he kept the best. The 85 with water rights and, more important, a legal easement documented permanent. Says I get to use that road, no questions asked, until the end of time. For 38 years, nobody had a problem with it. Then Brad showed up. 3 months back, early June, Brad comes barreling up my driveway in his oversized pickup, 50-something skin baked by the sun boots that have seen more conferences than cow pies. Introduces himself, hands me a business card so shiny I almost drop it. Miss Chen, I'd like to make you an offer. $2.3 million cash for the whole ranch. 30-day close. He says it like he's doing me a favor. I look him dead in the eye. Mr. Morrison, this place was appraised at $4.8 million last year. The water rights alone are worth more than your offer. Not selling. His smile goes tight. He leans in. That appraisal assumes stable access. But easements can be tricky. Road disputes, insurance maintenance. Landlocked property isn't worth much. I swear I could almost hear the script in his head. No risk, I say. The easement's legal and recorded. Has been since 87. Brad stands up, adjusts his hat like he's about to walk into a shootout. I know how these things work. $2.3 million is generous. Think about it. He walks back to his truck stops and says, "You'll regret this. That easement won't protect you forever." Then he roars off in a cloud of dust, and I figure that's that. He can't touch the easement. Except now I'm standing in front of a fence blocking my only road. 3 months after Brad's offer, he's built a literal wall right across my right-of-way. I take photos. Survey pins are still visible, marking my easement 50 feet behind his new fence. Brad's not just blocked my access, he's built his fence on my legal property. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is a siege. I call the county roads department, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. "Ma'am, your easement is recorded. That's a code violation. You'll need to file a formal complaint. How long? 10 to 14 business days to investigate, then 30 for compliance. I can't get to my ranch for a month. File for an emergency injunction if you need it faster." Right. Brad knew the timeline. He was betting I'd panic, give and sell for cheap. I rattle his fancy fence, then drive the only other route, a 40-mile detour through the mountains, Forest Service roads that bounce your kidneys into your throat 15 miles an hour if you're lucky. 90 minutes instead of 12. I get home exhausted, dumping feed bags in the barn when my phone rings. Ms. Chen. This is Brad Morrison. The Sunset Ridge HOA installed a security fence today. I understand that may affect your access. If you'd like to discuss a solution, I'm available. Deep breath. Brad, you just fenced off a recorded easement. That's illegal. He's cool as ever. The HOA has a right to control access. We're securing our community. I'm happy to discuss alternative arrangements. Maybe you'd like to reconsider my offer. Or we can talk about a license fee for road use, annual charges, maintenance. I hang up before I say something I'll regret. That night I walked the perimeter of my land, moonlight bouncing off the new steel, thinking about Uncle Raymond, about Brad's voice on the phone, about leverage. Brad thinks he's got me cornered. But he doesn't know about the fire gate. 3 years ago, when Brad started building his subdivision, county fire code required 2 exits, main road, and a backup for emergencies. The only route for that backup, right through my ranch. County put up a steel gate on my property. 1 key, Uncle Raymond's old lock, now mine. Brad's whole subdivision, every home, every insurance policy depends on that gate. And nobody ever asked me for a second key. Next morning I start digging. County records, developer websites, HOA, bylaws. Brad's whole empire built on the land Uncle Raymond sold him decades ago. He's got $84 million in home sales, another $80 million in potential if he could just snag my acres for phase 2. But his entire crown jewel is now 1 fire inspection away from being uninsurable. At the planning office, I comb through binders until my eyes burn. There it is. Fire marshal documents, emergency egress approved if Morrison Development gets a written easement and a key. Uncle Raymond signed but wrote in the margin, key remains with property owner. Nobody's ever transferred that key. I call my attorney Miguel. I can practically hear him shaking his head over the phone. Brad locked your access, not realizing you control his emergency exit. That's the dumbest thing I've heard all year. He reads me the county code. Subdivisions over 100 homes need 2 functional exits. If Brad loses, the gate insurance goes. No lender, no buyer, property values collapse. Normally I'd tell you to file for an injunction, Miguel says. But you hold the nuke. Let Brad sweat a little. So I do nothing. 3 days I take the long way into town, wave at the neighbors, fix fences, haul water. I don't threaten, I don't sue, I just wait. The fire marshal's inspection is 6 days away. When they find the gates locked and the HOA doesn't have a key, the whole subdivision will go non-compliant. Day of the inspection, I'm fixing a trough when the county truck rumbles down the fire road. I let them find the locked gate. My phone rings. Ms. Chen, this is Deputy Fire Marshal Browning. We're doing the annual fire code inspection, need the key to the emergency exit. Sorry, that's on my property. HOA never asked for it. Also, Brad's HOA just blocked my only road with an illegal fence. Until that's fixed, no dice. Ms. Chen, this is public safety. So is my property right. Emergencies, I'll open the gate myself. Inspections, not until my access is restored. Click. Miguel calls that afternoon laughing. Fire marshal's report is public subdivisions not in compliance. Insurance carriers notified 30 days to fix it or face penalties. And like clockwork, homeowners get letters from their insurance. Your policy may be canceled in 30 days unless compliance is restored. That night, Tom from the subdivision calls me, concerned, polite. Sarah, people are panicking. Is there anything you can do, Tom? I'm not the one who put your insurance at risk. Brad blocked my road. HOA calls an emergency meeting. There's yelling, finger-pointing, a motion to kick Brad out as president passes by a landslide. Brad calls me, voice tight. What do you want? Remove the fence. Pay damages for my detours. Apologize in writing. That's extortion. No, Brad. That's the price of leverage. He tries legal threats. Lawyers write letters quoting statutes I've already read. Miguel writes back, your client has no legal claim. My client holds the key. Until her access is restored, no key for you. County attorney calls sides with me. Brad sends homeowners to my door accusing me of holding 120 families hostage. I hold up my phone. This conversation's recorded. Leave or I'll call the sheriff. 23 days and property values plummet, insurance lapses. Buyers walk away and still, Brad refuses to budge. 5 days before the deadline, he does the one thing I didn't see coming. He cuts my lock off the gate, puts his own on, thinking he's clever. I call the sheriff. Ma'am, this is destruction of property and trespass. Want to press charges? Absolutely. And I'm installing a second gate, 50 feet inside my property line. Let's see him try to cut that one. Gate goes up, industrial lock, new sign. No trespassing. Violators prosecuted. The fire marshal comes back, finds the new gate subdivision still out of compliance. Insurance gets canceled. Now Brad files an emergency court motion trying to force me to give up the key. Miguel countersues for the fence for trespass for cutting my lock. Court day comes. Judge Hensley looks at Brad, then at me. Mr. Morrison, did you secure legal rights to this gate? No, Your Honor. So you built 120 homes dependent on informal access to private property, then blocked the property owner's access to her own land. Brad goes red. Motion denied. Remove the fence within 48 hours or pay $1,000 a day. Ms. Chen, you have no obligation to provide access. Case closed. Brad's crew rips out the fence on deadline. My road is clear, my access restored. The subdivision, though, is still locked out. Next day, the HOA, now led by Karen Wu, a retired attorney with no patience for nonsense, comes to my ranch. She apologizes honest direct. What will it take to resolve this? I tell her $25,000 for damages, a formal easement agreement. HOA covers maintenance liability, and Brad is banned from my property forever. She writes it down. Deal. Payment lands in my account. Easement gets recorded. I hand Karen the only key. Fire marshal, reinspect subdivision, gets insurance back, property values, recover sales, close peace returns. Brad, he's gone. HOA sues him for damages. County fines him $33,000 for the fence. Homeowners settle for $310,000 from Brad's own pocket. His company folds, reputation in shreds, and the legend of Brad Morrison ends not with a bang but with a quiet for sale sign in his yard. 18 months later, my ranch is thriving, agritourism, booming, cattle fat and happy. Karen brings me a bottle of wine, thanks me for not crushing the subdivision when I could have. A new developer calls, offers $5.8 million for my land. I turn him down. This isn't about the money. It never was. Sometimes people ask if I feel bad for what happened to those 120 families. Truth, no. They weren't my victims. Brad put them in that mess, not me. All I did was hold my ground. When the new HOA treated me with respect, apologized, negotiated, I worked with them. Their lives went back to normal. Brad lost everything. That's not cruelty, that's justice. So let me ask you, where do you draw the line? When does standing up for yourself turn into hurting others? And who do you blame when power gets abused? Ever had someone try to corner you only to realize you held the key the whole time? Let me know what you'd do. Drop your story below, or just tell me, was I right or was I wrong? Because out here in the real world, leverage isn't about being big or rich. It's about holding the one thing they can't live without. And sometimes all you need is the right key.